There are concerns about the risk of infection for dock workers in Perth South after crew members disembarked from a foreign cargo ship.
The rules are clear. If you haven't been at sea for 14 days, you must stay on board. Tonight, WA Police is speaking to the captain and crew, and the Australian Border Force is investigating.
The AAL Bangkok was granted permission to dock at Henderson on one condition: no crew members were to leave the ship. But wharf workers this morning say they saw them doing exactly that, on land, walking around wearing no protective gear, potentially putting dozens of local workers at risk.
Our guys on shift change this morning saw the vessel crew ashore without masks, without gloves, in breach of the quarantine requirements.
Workers had been on board unloading cargo overnight. This morning they stopped, standing down until the area is declared safe. They're concerned the foreign cargo ship is carrying COVID-19.
They obviously have great fear as well, like anyone would.
The rules are clear.
Any ship that's not at sea for 14 days, the crew have to remain on board.
The union is saying that hasn't happened, a claim Border Force is taking very seriously. The vessel departed a port in Taiwan on March 22nd. It was at sea for 12 days, then docked at Henderson last night. It's still 1 day shy of a required 2-week isolation period to make sure none of the crew are sick. Border Force cleared the ship to dock in WA yesterday. 7 News understands a port employee raised the alarm. The lack of surveillance, a sore point for the union.
We have obviously Australian citizens that have returned from holidays who are under guarded isolation for 14 days, yet our guys are expected to go on these vessels.
The problem is nobody really knows if any of the crew on board the ship is infected with COVID-19. Come tomorrow, the vessel will have reached its mandatory 14-day quarantine period. If there's still no reports of sickness on board, the ship will be deemed safe and crew will continue to unload the cargo. Any allegations of a breach will be investigated and appropriate action taken. International maritime arrivals are the primary responsibility of the Australian Border Force. WA Police has been involved and has spoken with the captain and the crew.
We're making the call on Border Force and or the Port Authority and or the government to make an example of this vessel.
On the other side of the country, the largest peacetime operation ever seen in Sydney Harbour is underway as a fleet of cruise ships off the New South Wales coast are readied for their voyages back home. The forced exodus carried out under high security.
So the operation was based about refuelling, putting provisions back on a boat to make sure that these cruise line ships have all the supplies that are necessary to get back to where they want to go.
The last remaining vessel, the Ruby Princess, responsible for so many deaths, so many questions. Now leaked emails prove New South Wales health officials knew about a possible outbreak before it arrived 2 weeks ago. The next morning, 2 sick passengers were taken off by paramedics, while 2,700 passengers walked off. That afternoon, 3 of the 13 tests came back positive. It's now responsible for 7 deaths and 600 infections, 10% of all Australian cases. Cassidy Moscone, 7 News.